Occupy Wall Street began in New York City in September. It started small, but in the face of police repression, the Occupy movement drew worldwide attention and spread like wildfire across the United States. It took time for interest to grow, but the New York unions have come through on several critical occasions, such as when the occupation looked like it was under serious threat last month. Unions sent a call out to their members to assemble at the park at 5 in the morning on a Friday, and many union members of their own initiative came out and swarmed the park. It became impossible to arrest everybody, so the park was successfully defended thanks to not only radical activists but also to ordinary union members who have become energized and have started to identify with the struggle of the radical youth. The media image in the U.S. is that these are just, random troublemakers, hippies, drug addicts, you name it. But in fact, I've seen things that I never would have expected to see before and that are unprecedented in the U.S. society, such as construction workers have started to join up with the Occupy movement in New York, and people who are familiar with the history of U.S. social movements in the 60s and 70s will remember the confrontation of student radicals who were protesting the Vietnam War with so-called hard hats. So there have been small developments, it's still small, but that mark qualitative changes in what's possible in the U.S. The slogan that has been central to the Occupy movement is "We are the 99%." The U.S., as many people know, is a phenomenally unequal society, even more so than the European nations that have been ravaged by neoliberalism. And this is a movement that is the result of massive state debt crises that have been created by the bailouts that happened after the bank collapses in 2008. And the anger has been simmering, obviously, for a couple of years now, but finally it has been given expression in the street. They want to maintain the struggle and keep it going through what's going to be a very cold winter. And there are organizers on the ground there who are among people who are newly radicalized, and the people who have been around for a while are building links between social movements and between militant labor protests, and trying to develop these organic connections so that the movement not only survives but develops a greater political expression and becomes more concrete in its objection to the rule of the 1%. They are the expression of the declining living standards in the United States. Unlike in Italy and Spain and Portugal, people in the U.S. don't really identify with the label precariat, and that is not that discussion is a discussion that's very much an academic one at this point, that exists in the far left, but has not become generalized among a wider layer of young, underemployed people. And so if people end up rallying around identifying with the label precariat is an open question. But these are definitely the people who are driving the movement. I think it's also something that causes there's not a tension, but a complicated relationship with the unions as a result, because these are people who have never experienced what unions can potentially do for people. I mean, the unions in the United States are often very bureaucratic and corrupt, so that doesn't help as well. But regardless, it's not even a matter of, being against unions or for unions. It's the fact that unions are not really a part of everyday lived experience in most of the U.S., where only 7% of the workforce in the private sector is unionized, and there's only overall 12% union density.